Hello class. In this series of a video tutorial, I'll demonstrate the whole workflow of how to create the shadow play style animation. So in this video, basically, this is what we're going to create. We're going to create all of the assets and create a basic lighting animation and clouds animation and this blurry effects and also the texture. In the next video, I'm going to demonstrate how to animate this dragon. As you can see, we have created all of the joints for the dragon, so each of the joints can be rotated. Alright, so let's get started. So before we move on, I would like to show you the concept. So what is the shadow play? I believe many of you know this art style. So basically, shadow play is a folk art that exists in a lot of countries. Okay, and it's ancient art and even folk tradition in China, India, Iran, and a lot of ancient countries, and also it can be found in Egypt, Greece, and even United States. Okay, so this is the explanation about this type of art on Wikipedia, and you can just search shadow play and you will find more explanation. Here's a setting for the shadow play. So basically how it works is you place the light in this direction, and this is the actor. He or she going to hold those puppet and to play, and the audience is on another side of this white cloth. So they're going to see the shadow dropped by these puppets. And the shadow gonna mix with some of the colors of these puppets. Depends on the material of the puppet. For example here, okay, as you can see, is hollowed in the center. So basically, this area is going to drop black color shadow, right? This area is going to drop lights, or if this is half transparent, you're going to filter some color and lights and drop it onto the cloth. So that is the concept and the technique, how the shadow play works. Okay, and in a lot of animations, you will see animators brought this type of style into the animation. For example, the most famous one, Kung Fu Panda 2. I believe many of you, majority of you, have watched the movie Kung Fu Panda, right? It has 3 movies. So this is the second one, the intro, the Lord Shin's backstory, and you can see the use of the shadow play style, right? And created all of the puppets, and also the background, the house, the fireworks, the architecture, the fires. Okay, so it's a very beautiful art style, right? And it's worth for you to study and experiment with it. Okay, so to get started, start with Photoshop. So this is the image I found online. If you just search dragon PNG image on Google, you should see this image. And then I imported it to Photoshop. And for those who don't have Adobe programs, you can just use a GIMP, which is a free program, a free Photoshop alternatives. All right, so I brought it here. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all the components. And I'm going to separate the head, this part, and the 4 necks and the body. So I'm going to have this folder, the step 2 separated components. As you can see, first I have the body, okay, and this is original, and this is body. As you can see, I cropped some overlaps because later on I'm going to have head on top of it. This is head, right? And I'm going to have the rotation animation. I want it to overlap. Okay, but I'm going to remove this white stroke later on, so you will not see the repeated pattern when I rotate it. Okay, and same thing for the next. So this is the front, and here's the body, and this is in the back. Okay, what I'm going to do later on is I'm going to expand this area, okay, and fill this area with black color, so I have some overlaps. Okay, same thing here. So this is the second step. I'm going to separate all of the components and then move on to the third step. So for the third step, I'm going to create a joint on the body. So this is the body. As you can see, I basically change the whole thing to black color. So what you can do is just hit Command U for hue saturation, or if you're on Windows, just use Control U. On Mac computer, use Command U. You'll go to hue saturation, or you can just go to top menu, image adjustment, hue saturation. And in GIMP, you should find a similar thing to adjust the colors. So if you have a white stroke on this image, you can just change the lightness back to -100. So you're going to change the entire thing to black and to black color. And then what you're going to do next is I'm going to decide where are the joints, where I want to bend on the character's body. For example, if I wanted to bend it here, so I'm going to create the first joint, and I'm going to use the ellipse tool, and I'm going to draw a circle here. So as you can see, when I draw a circle, it's not a circle, right? So you'll just hold on Shift K, and then you can keep the proportion on X and Y, and then make sure this circle covers the whole body. The width should be equal, and then make sure you create a new layer and fill with white color. So this is gonna be the first joint, and create a new layer. And the second joint, I'm going to make another circle, fill with white color. Alright, so you're going to do this for the whole thing, and this is what I created. Basically, I create 5 joints. Okay, I'm going to break it into 5 components. And then the easiest way to break them down is first, I'm going to hold on Command key and double click on the thumbnail. So you're going to select this area, right? And then I can use the lasso tool, hit LK, L for lasso, or you can just click on this button, and then hold on Shift K. Now you can see that lasso tool have a plus sign, so that means if you draw an area, you're going to add an area. So you're going to add this whole area. Okay, see this whole area, and then I'll select the body layer, Command C, copy, Command V to paste. So if you are on if you're on Windows computer, use Control C, Control V instead. And here, as you can see, if I paste it, it doesn't keep the original position. So I'm going to go Command Z, go back. So instead of use Command C, copy, Command V to paste, what I'm going to do is, after I copy this part, I'm going to use Command Shift V to paste. So now you can see that I copied that part and I paste it, and I paste it at the exact same location as where I copied it. So here's the part I copied, right? And this is the original part. As you can see, they overlap with each other. And then I can move this up. Now you can see that you'll have a nice curve shape along here, right? So this is the tail, and you can see tail 1 or whatever you want to rename it. All right, and then we haven't done yet. So for this one, since we already copied this part, right, we're going to hold down Command key and click on this thumbnail again. And this time we're going to do the reverse way. We're going to delete this area outside of the circle. So I'm going to use the lasso tool again, hold down Shift, and select everything except the tail that I just copied. So now I select this area, right? And then you will go to Select and invert your selection. So now you inverted the selection, so you'll select this area. Okay, and then hit delete. And then if I hide all of these joints I created, this is how it looks, right? So this is the body, remaining part of the body, and this is the tail. And you can see that if I change their blending mode to 55, so you can see they have an overlapped area, and that is what we're going to create here. So when we rotate the tail, it has the joint. Okay, and you should also see that in the animation here. If I go to the character, and you will see, right, it has an overlapped area that will prevent you create the gaps when you have the rotation animation. Okay, close this one, and I'll go back to Photoshop. All right, and you'll continue this process, and we have done this one, and then you'll do this one, here. Okay, and then in the end, you'll have first section, second section, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, right? So you have sixth section, and so this is step 3. I created the joints on the body, right? Because for the body, I want it to be flexible, and then move on to the next step. Step 4. What I'm going to do is I'll just duplicate this whole thing and make a folder so I can show you what I'm going to do after. Alright, so I'm going to select each individual component. For example, if I just select this section, and you'll hold down Command key and click on its thumbnail, so you'll select the whole thing in this layer, right? And then you'll go to select and modify and contract. And for contract, I would like a contract by 8 pixels. Okay, so you will contract your selection in this area, right? And I'll delete it. So I will have this nice stroke. Okay, this nice stroke. And it depends on how big your image is. So if you have a bigger image, you may increase the contract pixel in order to have a relative thin stroke on your layer. So you'll do this for everything. So select each component and contract by 8 pixels, and then in the end you should have this thing. Okay, this is the tail, this section, right? So you will have all of these sections, and after you've done this one, what you'll do is I'll make a new duplication to show you the progress. Alright, and then what you'll do is you will use the image I'm going to provide here. So you should find the download link of the image resources, okay, on Blackboard. And I'm going to use, hold on a second, let me find the images. Should be, where is it? Oh, here, sorry. The patterns. So I also have these patterns. So these are sameness patterns that we're going to use on the character. So I'm going to use this one maybe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is drop this image in Photoshop, and we can make it smaller. So it depends on how big you want each texture to be on your character. So you can change the scale. Since this is a sameness texture, so I can just hold down Option key and then just move it, and then you can see that when I connect them together, there's no seam, so it's a repeatedness, and then I can just continue this process and go down, and once you're done, select all of them, and then merge layers. Or you can just select the whole thing, use Command E if you're on Mac computer to merge. On Windows, use Control E. Right? So you will have this. So I'll just duplicate these textures and drop it to here. Alright, so now we are in step 4. Step 5, we're going to give a pattern texture for it. So once you made a duplication, you should have this, right? You should have this. And then let's do each section one by one. So I'll just work on this section. So for this section, if I want this to be the shell of the character, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. Okay, along this way. And hit return key to confirm the change. And then I'll place it underneath this body layer. So I only want this texture to be showing in this area. I want to fill this area with this texture. So what I'm going to do is select the stroke and W key for this one, for Magic Wand tool. So you can just click on that and go to here, or use short key W. Select this area, and then this time we're going to go to select, modify, expand by 2 pixels. So we're going to expand our selection. So it's going to go this way. Okay, right? So it expand by 2 pixels, and then we'll make sure select our texture layer and hit delete. So you can delete everything outside of the selected area, right? So we fill this area with a texture, right? So you're going to do the whole this thing for every component. Okay, you're going to do it for every component, and then you're going to have everything with the texture, right? So after you've done that, what you're going to do is I'm going to put this into a group. Select both of the two layers, hit Command G on Mac computer, Command G on Windows, use Control G. So this is going to put it in the group. Or you can just go here, create a new folder, and drop these two into here. All right. And then for this group, we can go to the top middle layer, layer style, and color overlay. So here you can define a color for it. So here I'll give it a dark red color. So it looks like the paper cut or the puppies that are created by nether or paper. Okay. And another thing is, see right now this area is transparent, right? Fully transparent, but I want it to be half transparent. I want it to be kind of a nether or plastic material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the stroke again and hit W key and select this area, right? And then go to select and modify and expand by 2 pixels again. So you're going to expand, and then since I'm selecting the outside area, right? So I'm going to go to select and inverse. So now you're going to select the inner area, and then so under this folder, don't create a layer in this folder. So create a layer outside of this folder here. Okay, and then we're going to choose a kind of yellowish color, maybe like this. Okay, and fill it, and then I'm going to get the opacity of this layer to 70, so it is half transparent, right? And then I'm going to deselect. So go to top menu, select and deselect. Okay, and then I'm going to select both the strokes, the outline, and this color palette, and then I'm going to put them in a group, and I'm going to say this is, for example, body section 2. So you're going to repeat this process for the whole thing. And the reason why I want this color palette to be half transparent is because later on you're going to have other sections. For example, if I just duplicate it, right? If I just duplicate, see, when I have them to overlap, you can still see through the first part, the first object, but it's half transparent. It's so you have some texture color on the object. Okay, so do the whole thing, and then this is what we're gonna have. So we're going to transfer a dragon from this to this style. Okay, so once you've done with all of them, what you're going to do is, before you move on to After Effects, we need to clean our file a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to delete everything that is not usable in the scene, and then also here. Okay, now you can see that I have each folder for each component. For example, the neck, in the back, and body sections, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll select each folder and merge each folder. So right click here, right click and go down below, you should see merge group, or you can just select it and hit Command E on Mac computer, Command E on Windows computer, Control E. So you're going to merge each folder into a single layer. Okay, so basically since we have the color overlay, blending mode, all of the different things in the folder, so now as we merged everything in a PNG image, a one layer, so you merge everything as one image, it will be easier and faster for the animation. And then we're going to select everything in the folder and drop it, move it out, right? So now the folder don't have anything, and we can just delete it. All right, so this is a clean file, and you are ready. Move on to animation. So I'm going to save this to a new file. I'm going to save it to Dragon demo. All right, and then we're going to move to After Effects. Okay, so here, as I showed you before, how to properly import your file. So select the PSD file and just drop it in here. And in the import setting, import canned, use composition, return layer size, and layer option, editable layer style, and click on OK. So this is going to import all of the individual layers you have, right? Each individual layers you have in the PSD file. Okay, and it also going to create a conversation. So this conversation is same as the PSD file. It has all the layers, right? See the layers same as Photoshop, and then you can animate them. Okay, so we'll now move on to animating this dragon in this video. We're going to do it for next video. So let's create the environment first. So first I'm going to go click on this button, create a new conversation, or you can just go to tool menu, conversation, and new conversation. All right, and here I'll say background demo, and for the width I'm going to do 1920. So if you feel lazy to change all the settings, you can just go to here and check on HDTV 1080. Okay, frame rate as 24. So a lot of times I just manually change these, and duration as 8 seconds, and click on OK. So this is our new background. We're going to construct the background in the scene, and first I'm going to do is I'm going to create the background drop, which should be here. Let me show you. So in this photo, in the reality they would use a white cloth, but because as you can see, in any place in reality you could never see a purely white colored object, right? Because of the lighting, because of the shadow. For example, this is a white cloth, but here it is not pure white, right? It has some color, depends on the room's color temperature. So that's to say here I'm going to create a new solid layer, and I'm going to give it a light bluish color for the backdrop. And then I'm going to create another solid layer, and for this one I'm going to make it brighter, something like that, and place it on the top of it. And then I'm going to use this one. Click on the mask tool. By default it should be the rectangular tool, and you're going to switch to ellipse tool, and we're going to drag and drop a shape, and then hit VK, switch back to selection tool, double click here, and you can move it and change it to different location. And you can also make it a little bit bigger, maybe smaller, sorry, because this is supposed to be the lights and I want it to be smaller, something like this. Okay, so this is the mask, and here we'll go to down below here, go to the mask setting. If you don't see it, just select the layer, hit M key, so you should see the mask. And then in here we'll increase the feather, so you're going to feather out, smooth out the mask, the boundary of the mask. So we're going to do about 250. Okay, so this is the lights. And I also going to change this layer, right click and blending mode, change it to not screen, maybe blending mode to soft light. Oh, blending mode on lighting. Okay, looks good. Is keep the original color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in this dragon. So this is our dragon, and I'm going to scale it down, something like this. And I can also bring in our mountain. So you should see that in the folder I provided you. Okay, we get all these PNG images. So by default is a black and white cutout drawings. So I'll bring it here, and then what I'm going to do is right click and go to blend, go to wait, layer style, here is it. Layer style, and you should see color overlay. Okay. It's outside of the frame, so let me just bring it up. Okay, right click, and layer style. Oh, still also a frame. Anyway, color overlay, and then by default is a red color. Okay, and then we're going to change it. So here, down below here, layer style, you should see color overlay, and you can change it there. So basically, that is exactly the same as what we did here, right? We select the layer and go to layer style, and color overlay. So that's exactly the same thing, right? So here we're going to change it to kind of dark green color. Okay, and so that's mountain 1, and let's see what other mountains I'm going to use. Maybe mountain 3, and I just want to use the same layer style, so I'm going to select the layer style, Command C copy, Command V paste, so it's going to be here, and we can increase the size, place it here, this one to here, and this mountain will be in the back. This is the background, and for layer style, I'm going to copy and paste it here, and then for this one, I'm going to change the color a little bit. So I want to make it brighter but more desaturated color, and I'm going to change the scale and place it down below here, right? And then I'm going to add a cloud. So the cloud should also in the folder, and there's a lot of cloud you can use. Again, is black and white. Black stroke with these gaps is a PNG image. So I'll just drop one here. So this will be here, and you can just copy the layer style, paste it here, and then I'm going to change its layer style, the color, and I'm going to change it to white color. Okay, so this is the first cloud, and then let's see, four and 7, and I'm going to place it down below the first cloud because these two are going to place it in the background. So I'm going to select the layer style, paste it here to the second cloud. However, I don't want it to be entirely, purely white color because this is far away than us. So I'm going to change it to a grayish color, like this. Okay, and make it a little bit bigger. And then I can just copy this one layer style to the other cloud. Here is it. Okay, all right. And once you've done placing these subjects, and right now you can see that we have this pattern, but we don't have the texture. So now I'm going to give it some leather texture or old paper cloth texture to it. Okay, so in the folder you should find we have the old paper texture image, and just import it here and drag and drop it on the top, and we can make it smaller, make sure it covers the whole thing, right? And then we can change its blending mode to multiply and hit TK, select it, hit T for transparent or opacity, and lower it down a little bit. So I would do about 80. So we have some texture on it. And then I would also want to create, let me show you, create a blurrish effects, because imagine if this is a real shadow play and you are filming it, because your camera has the depth, right, depth of field. So the outside area is always kind of blurry, and here is more kind of sharpened. And also if your puppet is far away than the cloth, and the shadow itself also will be blurry. Okay, so we want to simulate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, any empty spot, right click and go to new and new adjustment layer, and make sure you place this layer in top of everything, layer sequence is 1. Okay, so on this adjustment layer, we're going to add a blur effect. So that blur effect going to apply to the adjustment layer, and you're going to carry that for the whole thing. You're going to simulate the blur effect for everything you have in here. So we're going to right click, go to effect, go to blur sharpen, and apply a Gaussian blur. So it's down 3 below the compound blur. So Gaussian blur is out of frame. Alright, so for Gaussian blur, we're going to increase the blurriness, and now you can see that it blur out everything, and also the edge is weird because it's blurred, right? So we can see the edge. So check this on repeat edge pixels. So we're going to keep the edge as it is. So here I'm going to do about 40, so it's really blurred out. And then I'm going to use the mask tool, select the adjustment layer, and then I'm going to draw a mask. And once you're done, go back to selection tool, double click here and move it and bring it in the center area. And we're going to go down below here and change the mask feather to about 200. And also I want to blur this area, not this area. So I want to reverse it. So I'm going to change the mask type to subtract. Right? So this is going to get the boundary area blurred. And I can change the feather, increase it to 300 if you want more. Right? So anything that is closer to the edge, you're going to blur it out. And then as it go in this stage, in the center, it's going to be sharpened. Okay? And then for the cloud, you can just create a simple animation. For example, here in the first, in 0 seconds, you can select all of them, hit PK, create a position keyframe, and at 8 seconds create another keyframe, and then we can select each individual cloud. So for the first cloud, I'm going to move it to here, so move a longer distance, and for this cloud I just move it a little bit because it's farther, and this cloud I'm going to move it a little bit, so at second keyframe and move them, and then they will move, right? And you can also see through the objects, right? So that's nice. That's what I want. Another thing is, because this area is the lighting, right? This is the shadow play. As you can see, it has a lighting bulb. Okay, and you're going to drop the lights in this area. So I'm going to select this one. So this is a light layer. We're going to select it, hit TK for opacity or transparent, T for transparent. All right. So we're going to create a first keyframe in the beginning and go a few frames later and drop it down a few frames later, increase it and drop it down slightly and increase it and drop it down and increase it and drop it down. So you're going to increase, you're going to repeat this process. Okay. So you're going to repeat this process, and once you get enough frames, and you can just duplicate and change them. And then if when you play, you should have this type of effect, right? It's a flashing. See that? Lights is flashing. Okay, so basically that's how you would build a puppet and create a shadow play style animation. So in the next video, I'm going to ring all this whole character, and we're going to animate the character.